Hello and welcome to our presentation on pre-assessments. First, we will go over what a pre-assessment is. Pre-assessments gather information about students' prior knowledge. They are consistently revisited throughout the lessons, and teachers use students' prior knowledge. Pre-assessment is crucial to accurately place and accommodate CLD students in the classroom. There are many things that pre-assessments allow the teacher to do. Use instruction time effectively, connect learning to prior background knowledge, address gaps and misconceptions, and ensure appropriate cultural and linguistical methods of assessment are being used. There are many things that pre-assessments can be. They can be pre-tests, observations, home visits, conversations, and discussions. Next, we'll look at delivering effective pre-assessments. Before writing and giving out a pre-assessment, carefully think about why. Consider what specific information you want to uncover so your pre-assessment is purposeful and relevant to the upcoming unit. Also consider how you will gather that information. The sole purpose of giving a pre-assessment is to use the information in your instruction as you progress. If you're not adapting instruction to enhance student learning, there is no point in giving the pre-assessment. Possible instructional adaptations may be reviewing essential information and skills you learned that students are missing. You may need to address misconceptions that students have. The next consideration is when. Use pre-assessments only when needed. Don't overkill the students. You may not need pre-assessment for every unit, or the pre-assessment could vary in length and formality. Again, only use pre-assessments when they yield and bring you information that either you don't already have or you can't find without one. Lastly, talk with your students. Explain the purpose to them. Emphasize the information you learn from these pre-assessments will help you better understand how to address their needs, connect to their interests, and get them engaged in the next unit. Also emphasize that their scores will not be used for grading purposes to curb text anxiety. Here are some helpful tips. Give the pre-assessment shortly before the new unit. This provides the most up-to-date information. However, do give yourself time to analyze the results. The day before the next unit starts likely isn't enough time to look through the scores and use it to benefit your instruction. Include just a few questions. Make it short and to the point. Don't make the pre-assessment a lengthy exam that will turn off student interest. Let the pre-assessment serve as an invitation to the next unit and give students a chance to show what they know instead of what they don't know. Next, we'll check out some examples of pre-assessment. First, there's performance-based and prior knowledge assessments. These are the most commonly used pre-assessments. They're typically paper and pencil assessments like multiple choice, true and false, and fill-in-the-blank questions. These assessments are reliable and give educators a clear understanding of the student's background knowledge of the topic. Another way to assess students is on their prior knowledge. You can use self-assessment to do this. This gives students a chance to reflect and express what they know about a topic, and this can be done through rubrics or teacher-led questions. Please make sure to come back and watch this nice example of a prior knowledge self-assessment. Another way to do this is through concept maps. Concept maps give students a chance to express their understanding of a topic in a less typical way. It provides an opportunity for the educator to see how their student is thinking, what concepts they already have, areas that they need to grow, and where to focus their next instruction. Older students may be able to create more complex concept maps with many connections. Concept maps in early elementary will be more similar to a web. Next, let's look at interpreting the data of pre-assessments. So now that you have the data, how do you interpret it in a meaningful way? Start by asking yourself these 4 questions while looking at the data. What are your students' strengths? What are their areas of needed improvement? Which skills need whole class instruction? Which skills only need small group instruction? After you've gone over those questions, next compare your classroom data with your grade level data. While looking at this data, discuss with your team, are there any trends? Is there any correlation between the student and their pre-assessment score? And is there anything surprising? After that, you should make a plan and stick to it. Do this by differentiating instruction, putting together needed and specialized needed materials, and create a scope and sequence of the lesson. Of course, make sure that all areas will be addressed. Finally, let's look at pre-assessments and ESL students. Standardized tests are not ideal for ESL students. They may not show a reliable picture of students' abilities. They may only show where ESL students are at in a certain point of the year. And many standardized tests contain language barriers and confusion for ESL students. Instead, ESL students benefit from ongoing informal assessments rather than one big standardized test. Knowing student strengths and abilities and scaffolding pre-assessments as students progress is important. Observations are helpful to use as a pre-assessment tool to see what students already know about a topic. Informal and ongoing assessments are most successful. They showcase students' abilities, gives a good picture of students' mastered skills, and provides ongoing progress for teacher to use to guide future instruction. Next, let's look at informal pre-assessment considerations. Make sure to take content knowledge separately from language proficiency. Observe ESL students often, especially when introducing something new. Observe how students interact and talk with others about new concepts in the classroom. Next, it is so important to use pre-assessment results for ESL students in a smart way. Make sure to use informal pre-assessments often. Keep ongoing progress of your students with a baseline comparison from the pre-assessment results. And if a problem arises, create an intervention early and monitor it closely. Thank you so much for viewing this presentation. Goodbye.